He stands still, just 13, bare feet on sun-heated stone. His skin shines with oil, his eyes locked on the ground. He's not waiting for a family. He's waiting to be bought. Around him, the marketplace hums, vendors shouting, coins clinking, sandals scuffing stone. But here, in the eye of the storm, a transaction unfolds. A merchant grips the boy's arm. Fingers prod muscle, trace jawlines. Silver changes hands, not for labor, not for adoption, but for sex. This is not a back alley deal. This is state-sanctioned, taxed, regulated, ordinary. Nearby, marble statues watch in silence. Athena, Apollo, gods of wisdom and beauty. Their city, Athens, is a miracle of philosophy and democracy. But beneath its ideals lies a different economy, one built on youth, on silence, on flesh. Welcome to ancient Athens, a city that praised reason but profited from bodies. Today, we're peeling back the marble to expose what lay beneath, the world of male brothels in ancient Greece, where desire, power, and status collided. The infrastructure of desire. Prostitution in ancient Athens was not a hidden vice, but a legally sanctioned enterprise. The state regulated male and female sex work alike, integrating it into the civic economy. According to tradition, the great lawmaker Solon even established state-run brothels, the profits of which aided public construction and social order. Known as the porneia, these establishments were not secret. They stood openly on busy streets, near ports, and by city gates. Their existence was marked by public taxation, with receipts recorded like those of markets or inns. Yet legal acceptance carried a cost. Male citizens who engaged in the sex trade, particularly by selling their bodies, faced severe penalties. Aeschines stated in court, he prostituted himself as a boy, a charge that stripped a man of his right to speak in the assembly and undermined his civic honor. This was not moral condemnation per se, but a strict enforcement of status. In Athens, power was maintained by preserving a clear social hierarchy, ensuring that those who sold their sexuality remained socially marginal. Furthermore, brothels operated openly, their locations common knowledge among citizens. Graffiti and public signs detailed names, prices, and specialties, turning desire into something quantifiable. The acceptance of such commerce, while economically beneficial, revealed a paradox. The same society celebrated intellectual and artistic excellence while commodifying human affection. In Athens, public regulation and legal oversight meant that sex work was an established, if stigmatized, pillar of urban life. Thus, commerce and law intricately intertwined to shape Athenian desire permanently. Enslaved, trained, displayed. Most male sex workers in ancient Athens were enslaved, purchased as children and forced into service. Captured in wars or born into bondage, they were selected for their youthful beauty and trained to perform with poise. Once acquired, these boys learned to sing, serve wine, and emulate affectionate behavior, skills that rendered them desirable commodities in brothels. Their lives became marked by submission rather than choice. For many, the trade was not a matter of selection, but an imposed destiny devoid of agency. A few free men, driven by poverty or desperation, entered the trade voluntarily, though at great social cost. These free workers suffered a permanent stigma that stripped them of their political rights and civic honor. As Aeschines once condemned, he prostituted himself as a boy, a charge that rendered a citizen unfit to participate in public discourse. While some rare cases saw these men gain favor from wealthy patrons, such instances were exceptions rather than the norm. Gifted individuals might receive protection, lavish presents, or even housing. Yet they were never fully accepted as equals in society. In the oppressive shadow of slavery and enforced labor, every worker, whether born free or not, became an instrument of commerce. Their bodies were cataloged, their identities reduced to price tags, and their silence served as a testament to a system that valued aesthetics and utility above humanity. Their silent agony eternally echoes through the annals of time. Architecture of transaction. Ancient Athenian brothels were modest and functional. Built of stone and modest wood, these structures featured narrow corridors leading to small, sparsely furnished rooms. A single mat, often laid on straw, served as both bed and seat. There was little privacy. Each room was designed for rapid turnover rather than prolonged intimacy. Some brothels were simple backrooms attached to taverns or inns, while others occupied dedicated buildings in bustling neighborhoods. In more upscale establishments, subtle luxuries existed: faint oil lamps, the scent of fresh herbs, and carefully prepared meals for elite clients. Yet even the finest brothel remained a place of transaction, not romance. Graffiti on walls might name a particular youth, listing his price in drachma or obol, while whispers among citizens confirmed his reputation. Every detail reinforced that these were commercial spaces where bodily desires were measured in coin. The design of a brothel was purely pragmatic. Efficiency was prized over comfort, and the primary goal was to facilitate the swift exchange of pleasure for payment. The stark ambiance ensured that nothing distracted from the purpose of the encounter. Function over form governed every element, rendering the space a precise instrument of urban commerce. Every stone, every narrow passage, and every dimly lit corner was designed to maximize efficiency and minimize distraction. Clients moved quickly between rooms, and the cycle of desire and payment repeated relentlessly, leaving little room for sentiment or regret. The brothel's austerity spoke volumes about the values of an urban society driven by commerce. Thus, the stark efficiency of each brothel was a testament to the uncompromising nature of Athenian commercial desire beyond all doubt. Masculinity enforced. In Athens, sexual roles defined social power more than gender itself. A man who was active during intimacy retained his status and influence. Conversely, a man who received pleasure for a price suffered permanent stigma. Such an exchange reduced his identity to a transaction, stripping away civic rights and political voice. To be an object of pleasure was seen as surrendering masculine authority. To be purchased was to admit ownership by the market. Aristophanes ridiculed this state in his plays, jesting that certain youths were used more than the city's well. Laughter veiled deep anxieties about masculinity and honor. Civic life depended on a rigid hierarchy, and to sell one's body was to lose the public role reserved for free, active citizens. Philosophers like Plato celebrated noble forms of love, praising the union of souls over mere bodily pleasure. Yet, even Plato's ideals could not hide the practical consequences of commercialized sexuality. Aeschines' condemnation of a young man who prostituted himself underscored the profound loss of dignity and civic participation. For many, the cost was not measured solely in drachma or obol, but in the irrevocable loss of identity. In every whispered conversation and every scornful glance, Athens reminded its citizens that being commodified meant being cast out. Such was the paradox of Athenian society. Wealth and intellectual brilliance coexisted with an uncompromising judgment of those who fell prey to desire's commerce. Thus, public shame and personal destruction fused, leaving eternal scars on the fabric of civic life. Unyielding societal judgment forever persists. Philosophers, cynics, and saints of the flesh. Philosophers in ancient Greece were both admirers and critics of its sex trade. Diogenes the Cynic famously defied convention by mocking the hypocrisy surrounding commercial intimacy. In one instance, he declared, "Where can I find an honest man when even pleasure is bought?" His irreverence illuminated the societal contradictions that allowed brothels to flourish despite moral doubts. Plato, in his revered Symposium, elevated the concept of love beyond the physical, yet his discourse skirted around the reality that many beautiful youths were, in fact, commodified. The philosopher's ideal of a noble union between Aristes and Eromenos stood in stark contrast with the transactional nature of the brothel. Aeschines, in one of his fierce oratorical attacks, asserted, he prostituted himself as a boy, emphasizing the legal and social ramifications of such commerce. Aristophanes contributed his own biting humor, lampooning the plight of those reduced to mere objects of desire by remarking, "He has been used more than the city's well." His satire, though humorous, exposed deep insecurities about masculinity and honor in a society where beauty was profit. Each quote, every skeptical word, underscored a pervasive truth. Athens was a city of contradictions, where intellectual brilliance and brutal commerce coexisted seamlessly. These ancient voices, from sarcastic cynics to eloquent philosophers, offer a rich tapestry of insight. Their words remind us that even in a city celebrated for art and intellect, human desire is commodified and deeply conflicted. Ultimately, Athens' contradictions persist in every spoken line and inscribed stone, truly eternal echoes. Decline and erasure. As the centuries passed, the once public male brothels of Athens faded into obscurity. With the rise of Roman dominance and the subsequent spread of Christian morality, the open commerce of desire was recast as a secret sin. Public displays were suppressed and legal records diminished. Where once these institutions were integral to urban life, they became maligned by moralists and hidden from historical archives. Church doctrines condemned any public acceptance of sex work, and the state gradually withdrew its support. What had been a meticulously recorded trade was slowly erased from public memory. In its place, antiquity was reimagined solely in terms of high art and philosophy, ignoring the everyday exchanges that sustained it. Consequently, the voices of the exploited disappeared beneath layers of censorship and shame. Yet remnants endure in fragmented texts and ruined buildings, whispering of a time when the trade was blatant, regulated, and central to society. Thus, the legacy of these brothels remains obscured, evoking both loss and lingering truth about Athenian life. Even though formal records have vanished, the architecture and scattered literature remind us that commerce of flesh once shaped the very essence of Athens. Their silent legacy endures, echoing resoundingly through all time. Legacy. Today, the tangible evidence of Athens' male brothels is scarce, yet their impact remains undeniable. No personal diaries or first-hand accounts of the exploited exist. Instead, history hears only the voices of those who condemned or profited. Legal texts, satirical plays, and fragmented inscriptions reveal that male prostitution was an integral part of civic life. Intellectuals like Plato, Aeschines, and Aristophanes mention these practices indirectly, hinting at a society where desire was both celebrated and despised. In this paradox, the controlled commodification of beauty became a subtle marker of power and degradation. Art and monuments often glorify Athenian democracy and philosophy, yet beneath the grandeur lay a hidden economy driven by exploitation and vice. Modern scholars endeavor to piece together these fragments, striving to understand how everyday commerce and personal suffering coexisted with celebrated ideals. The legacy of these brothels is not only etched into ancient stone, but also into the moral fabric of history. Their stories challenge us to reconsider the past, urging an honest confrontation with the complexities of human desire and societal control. Through these incomplete echoes, we learn that beauty and exploitation are intertwined legacies, demanding critical reflection on history. The past speaks in quiet truths. If you enjoyed this journey through history, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more tales from the past.